What up, Gotham Guardians and Arkham Adversaries? It's your boy Trey of the Bat Channel, and we have some quick updates regarding James Gunn's The Suicide Squad film, and finally a special appearance from the Caped Crusader that we've all been waiting for on set of the Flash movie. Now, in a recent interview with James Gunn on the Kevin McCarthy show, they had asked him the question that we've all kind of had on our minds. Does he support David Ayer's Suicide Squad? As you guys know, there's a movement and push, just like the release the Snyder Cut. There's a hashtag release the Ayer Cut because we know the studio, shortly after BVS, not only did they interfere in BVS or Justice League, but they also interfered in David Ayer's Suicide Squad film. And as you could kind of tell from the trailers, the very first San Diego Comic-Con trailer, where it really had kind of a darker tone to it, I think it had that like jokes on you kind of song. And the studio had really told them to like cut it down, edit in a certain way, make it brighter, make it more colorful. And it really changed the film that David Ayer was working on. So there's been a push to see his original vision of Suicide Squad film. And obviously with the Suicide Squad that James Gunn is working on that comes out August 6th, a lot of people have been saying, well, hey, like, how do you feel about artist integrity? How do you feel about having a director's vision? You've been getting all this creative freedom, apparently from Warner Brothers. You've been allowed to do rated R, kill whoever you want to in this film. But what about David Ayer? He's still left behind in the dust. We haven't seen his true vision. So Kevin McCarthy asked him, and well, let's play it. Let's show you guys what James Gunn had to say about it.
And the support you've given to David Ayer over these years has been really amazing, because I think David Ayer is a phenomenal filmmaker, and I hope one day that we can see his cut. And you tweeted something the other day I thought was really interesting. You said that kind of what he went through in that process kind of helped pave the way for you to be able to make this movie. And I'm wondering if you could like elaborate on that, and have you seen his cut? And I mean, in terms of like, will you keep championing it to come out at some point?
I haven't seen David's cut. We've talked a lot about it. We've talked, he's told me exactly what happened with everything. And, a lot of the people at the studio are different people than who were there when his movie was happening. But I do think that Warner Brothers they have traditionally been the studio that supports the director. Like that's
100%.
who they have always been. And so I think that has been sort of a glitch with some of that stuff that was happening in the overall history of Warner Brothers. And so, of course, they're sensitive to criticism, just like, anybody would be. It's a studio, but it's also made up of human beings who, in my experience, have been some of the best people I've worked with in this industry. If not the very best, from the studio side. These are great people. So I think that, of course, they're going to be sensitive to that. And I think it makes them even more likely to be incredibly supportive of me because of what happened. So I don't dismiss, David's experience at all with that. And I'm grateful for everything he's done for me. He's been just a completely stand-up great guy from the beginning, from the moment it was announced I was doing this movie. And I really love him. I think he's a fantastic person.
So as you can see, he kind of dodged the question. I mean, he didn't really full on come out and say, yeah, hashtag release the Ayer Cut, but he did say he supports David Ayer and that he's grateful to David Ayer, just like we saw in his tweets a couple weeks ago, that, he was grateful that David Ayer was, kind of allowed him to be able to do the film that he wanted to do with Warner Brothers, which James Gunn had a certain reason for that, as you guys saw in his answer. But to me, we can look at this two ways. We could either look at it, he dodged the question and didn't really answer it, or you could look at it maybe in an optimistic way. Maybe the reason why he wasn't talking about, yeah, hashtag release the Ayer Cut is because it's already part of the plan and they're waiting for, to allow David Ayer to announce it maybe at DC Fandom. Because I truly think they don't want to release the Ayer Cut because they don't want it to overshadow the Suicide Squad film that James Gunn is working on. Or you could just take it as the studio told James Gunn, if they ask you about the Ayer Cut, you don't say really anything about it. So, but it is kind of interesting that James Gunn was like, the people that David Ayer worked with are not the same people that work for it now. I mean, Toby Emmerich is still there. Walter Hamada, yes, he's kind of taking over, but no matter what, these people are still not the the director driven fan base. I really think they gave James Gunn his creative freedom because he was from Marvel. I think I even saw in an interview from Jake's Takes, I want to say, where he was saying that he was talking to both studio heads about doing a DC and Marvel crossover for a giant superhero team up film. Luckily, he said that that was not really likely that was going to happen, though both sides were interested, which of course they are. It's money.
I mean, because money? Oh, money? I love money. Yeah, we make a bunch of it. So you make people feel nostalgic and they give you dollars? They do, many of them. Oh, wow, I'm all in. Fantastic.
But me personally, I'm not interested in that.
Fuck Marvel.
Just because I don't think the two blend, the two universes. I mean, Warner Brothers is trying to make it blend with the amount of comedy they're trying to put into the DC films and the different tone that they're trying to do with them. But that's another topic for later. But August 5th, they're holding a big social media event for hashtag release the Ayer Cut, a big push from the community. I'm definitely going to partake in that because I want to personally see the David Ayer Suicide Squad film, because the first trailer, like I said, looked phenomenal. And I didn't like what they did to the editing and the cutting of that film, because it did feel weird. And while I didn't hate Suicide Squad's film, I was still not crazy about. But you even have some support from some of the original cast, like Jay Courtney, who played Captain Boomerang.
Digger Harkness, or as the tabloids call him, Captain Boomerang.
He had said recently in an interview that basically he wasn't, sure if there was a cut. It's the typical PR stuff, but he said, in support of David Ayer, that like, hey, if he does have something, then yeah, I want to see. And so did Joel Kinnaman, who played Rick Flag. He was the same way. He thinks that David Ayer's film would be much more interesting than what they got in theaters. And we've heard plenty of times from Jared Leto and even Margot Robbie that a lot of their scenes were cut, especially Jared Leto's. To me, the film that we would have got from David Ayer would have been more of like an Assault on Arkham type film, which that was a great animated film, me personally. But I want to see it. So August 5th, hashtag release the Ayer Cut. Now let's go ahead and get into some set photos from the Flash movie that got me freaking excited, because I'm almost certain, folks, that this is Ben Affleck's The Batman suited up. Holy cow. And he has a new suit, a new bike, and he's serving some justice.
I make this look good.
This is really interesting because when the film was first announced with Ben Affleck returning to do Batman, a lot of the rumors were saying, well, he's just going to come back in a minor role. He's going to be Bruce Wayne, and that's it. We won't see him suited up. A lot of people said that. But then Mikey Sun with Geekosity was saying, no, he is going to live, and he's going to suit up in the Batsuit in the film, because we know Michael Keaton's supposed to be the main Batman. Now, you have a lot of people who are saying from these set photos, well, Trey, how do you know it's Ben Affleck's Batman? First off, I don't think that's actually Ben Affleck in the suit. I think that's his stunt double doing all this stuff. Just because you can tell he doesn't quite fit the suit, especially the cowl. But if you look at the cowl, it looks a lot like Ben Affleck's suit for Zack Snyder's Justice League. That cowl right there, you can even see the goggles that he kind of had, the lenses, and it's very short ears rather than the long ears that Michael Keaton's bat suit has. And there's one picture that it's kind of blurry, so you can't really tell, but if you zoom up just enough, you can kind of tell that there's actually a bigger, like, kind of bat symbol on. It's kind of fatter, like the Frank Miller one that's, from BVS that we saw. And not only that, it doesn't have the yellow emblem like Michael Keaton's that we saw from Andy Muschietti's Instagram photo. So I'm pretty certain that this is Ben Affleck's Batman, and it kind of has that gray color in his suit. One thing that I caught that was kind of interesting about this particular new bat bike that he's on is it's very reminiscent of a concept art that Zack Snyder had for Justice League, where Batman had this kind of hovercraft bike from Wayne Tech. You can kind of tell just based off the back of the tail, kind of has a similar shape to it. Obviously, it's slightly different design. I mean, this is the physical rather than a concept art, and you can see wheels on it, but I almost wonder, because you can kind of see orange dots on the front wheel, if they don't plan on taking that out or doing something with it with CGI and virtual effects. But hey, it's a pretty cool bike nonetheless.
Say, that's a nice bike.
The suit is kind of interesting. It's a little like armor plated a bit, not quite like the armored Batman, that was very typical from the Batman versus Superman fight scene that we got in BVS, but you can tell, I mean, it kind of has like some shoulder padding. It's definitely a different gauntlet than what Ben Affleck had from Dawn of Justice and Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it's definitely an updated suit, but it's also made me wonder, and what I want you guys to let me know down in the comments is, as we saw in the original Flashpoint film that Jay Oliva did in the animated films, the first Batman we see is blue and gray with their suit that Batman's wearing. After Flash goes through this entire journey and comes back to Batman, Bruce Wayne, his Batman at least, not the Thomas Wayne Batman, which huge bummer that they're not doing Thomas Wayne Batman, at least as far as we know, because Jeffrey D. Morgan, like you saw in our live show, Jeffrey D. Morgan, Lauren Cohen, both said they want to do the Flashpoint Batman and Joker. That would have been dope.
I am about 50% more into you now.
When Flash comes back at the end of the movie, you see that his Batman now has, rather than the gray and blue suit, it's black and gray. I wonder if that's going to be kind of a similar theme where Flash comes back and it's not quite his same Batman. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think this is Ben Affleck's Batman, or do you think this is actually their take on Flashpoint Batman? Could this be Thomas Wayne? It's an interesting thought for sure. But we'll definitely keep you guys aware. It was a quick kind of London chase scene. You saw the Bat Bike following like an armored military Hummer. So I don't know. Who knows what's going on here? But definitely the Flash, Ben Affleck's Batman, is going to be a little more in action than people originally thought. He's not just going to be Bruce Wayne, at least as far as we can tell from these set photos. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys hit that like, share, and subscribe, and that notification bell so you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Trey, and don't forget to tune in weekly. Same bat time, same bat channel.